This episode of the Workationing podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp.com. We love our internet therapists so much that we have an affiliate relationship with them that gets you a week of free internet therapy. All you have to do to get it is go to BetterHelp.com/workationing. That's BetterHelp.com/workationing. Now let's get on with the episode. In a time and place when you can work from anywhere,
two ladies in their mid to late 27s have decided to.
And they're calling it Workationing.
The ladies are back from hiatus with some big news and even bigger changes.
Kelly finds love and checks out what's poppin' in Gainesville, Florida.
Kari finds herself in two brothels on two different continents.
I swear that both times it was an accident.
The Gringas recap their workationing adventure and prepare you for the next chapter of the podcast.
It'll be great. You're going to love it.
This is the Workationing Podcast.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure we're doing it.
We're doing great. We definitely sound like two ladies who make their entire careers on the internet.
Yeah. I'm like, is it working? I don't know. I hope that this is not all for naught. I guess let's dig in because it's been a really long time since we've recorded an episode and a lot has happened since then and we've got a lot of ground to cover.
No, we do. I was really thinking about it and preparing this morning and I was like, the path that life has taken over the last 12 months is so wild and unpredictable that it barely feels real sometimes when I think about it. I'm just like, how in the heck did we get here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm in Antalya, Turkey right now. Where are you? Are you in Cleveland or are you in Gainesville?
I'm in Gainesville at an Airbnb.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Many things have changed, but me living in Airbnb is still a thing. So.
Okay. So I guess we have it in our call notes to rewind to last fall in Amsterdam, or I guess last winter in Amsterdam. So do you want to pick up and just dig in?
Yeah. So it's been so long since we've recorded that I don't even totally remember what we've told people, but I do know that we were kind of waiting to tell this story until we knew where it was going. But as a Workationing Gringa does, we felt that things needed to change and started to try to change things. So I knew personally that it was just time to take some next steps in my career. I loved working at TCF and learned so much there. But I mean, you and I had conversations, over a few months where I was, you were always, and have continued to be, my number one support and we're through all of those conversations as well. But I just sort of was like, it's time for me to take the next step. And it was just kind of hard for me to do that at TCF because that's your baby, Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm surprised, honestly, that we lived together and worked together for as long and as well as we did. I don't think that many people could have made that happen because it's not like we were just roommates who lived together. We also spent 8 hours a day, would be a light day, working together as well. And there was only so much that I could pay you. TCF is not a huge agency, and your skills had grown. And I know that you had been getting offers and you knew that there were other options on the table, and I fully supported you in exploring those.
Yeah. And I think that what was surprising to me, not surprising, but as things shifted over the last few months, I think that we both got the question from people are you guys even friends anymore? And it was just what are you talking about? We never even really fought. It wasn't that there was some major problem between you and I that moved us towards changing things, but it was a natural progression. And the time that we spent together, I knew at the time, and I still know now, that was the best time of my life. But also you can only spend so long, literally 10 feet away from another person without getting to a point where both of you kind of need to go in a different direction to grow.
Yeah. And I mean, we could have Golden Girls it out. But then
we still might at some point. I'm not taking that off the table, but it's just there's steps between here and there, Yeah.
And we were not going to get married. That was never going to be a thing, and I had been dating Nico for a long time and it was time for me to take the next step in my relationship with him. and I guess get a little more serious. And as we discussed, you had other career options, and you had interviews at Uber and Booking, and all of that was going on while we were still podcasting and living together, and you were working at PCF. And it was like, we both kind of knew that it was coming, and it was something that we were both kind of actively working towards. But yeah, definitely still friends. Just because we haven't been podcasting and we don't live together anymore, you're still my girl for life, you know? And we've been through so much together, has been well documented on the podcast, and we've been through some shit since then too. But I was really proud of and excited for you to take that next step, and for me to, you know, move on too. And it all kind of shook out.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't, like with anything we start, we didn't really know where it was going. And it was really scary at first because, I mean, I was very pleasantly surprised when I started looking for other work that I was as viable in the job market that I was, and as desirable in the job market as I was.
Yeah, girl, you are highly marketable.
Yeah. And I mean, and that was just sort of it, was that I kind of knew that was, I suspected that was the case, but until you get out there, you never really know. And I got out there, and I was like you said, I had ongoing talks with Uber, with Booking, with a bunch of other companies, but it was kind of complicated by the fact I was like really under the gun, because I won't get too deep in the weeds with visa stuff, but basically I had 90 days to not just get a job, but to be like actively employed at that job, or I would lose my 30% ruling, which is something that a lot of expats take advantage of in the Netherlands, because the taxes there, girl, are high if you don't have that.
Yeah, and you want to keep that 30% ruling, and if you lose it, you can never get it back again.
Yeah, you can apply for it one time, you can get it one time, like you're done. That's it. If you lose it, you can't get it back. And then
it was a real 90-day fiance kind of situation where like you really had to make some magic happen by, you know, that 90-day time frame, or you were essentially totally fucked.
Yeah. So then I'm trying to do the math in my head. I'm like, well, I mean, I loved Amsterdam so much, but it was also like, as much as I loved it, did I love it at the different tax rate? And I got to tell you, that love changed a little looking at those numbers.
Yeah.
And then the other reality was I wasn't just up against that 90-day mark for the tax ruling, but I had to 120 days before I'd lose my visa status altogether, which would have meant that I would have to like reapply for it. And that is a very expensive process.
It was not cheap for us to, number one, get our visas, number two, set up Workationing as a company, and then number three, recruit ourselves and go to Edinburgh, do that whole thing in order to get the 30% ruling that we wanted so desperately.
Yeah. And it got crazy. And the other thing is that the job market, particularly for expats in Amsterdam, is crazy. And it's just because, girl, I don't speak Dutch at all. And there's a lot of other expats wanting to come to Amsterdam and work for these companies for the visa status so that they can stay there. But there's only so many companies. Like now there is like the Uber, the Booking, whatever, out in Amsterdam. They're starting to open offices there, and everybody wants to work there. So it's extremely competitive. And these are people who have a lot of gumption. These are people who were willing and able to pick up their lives and move to another country on the off chance that they might be able to make it work. And so it's highly competitive for sure.
Beyond that, since you've left, I've known several other expats who, for one reason or another, like their job moved or something. Long story short, they found themselves out of a job. And they were up against that same 90 days. And basically all of them have had to move back. I've known several people who have gone back to Silicon Valley, which they did not want to go to, they escaped from in the first place, and they just weren't able to make it happen. So, and these are highly educated people in top level positions with a lot of experience and talent. And it is so highly competitive in Amsterdam that for all of the reasons that we discussed. And really, Amsterdam is an amazing city. I love it.
So anyways, a big issue also is that in the Netherlands, there's all of these laws that highly favor employees. And so it's, long story short, it is basically impossible to fire someone in the Netherlands. And so all of these big tech companies do move out to the Netherlands because there's an awesome pool of candidates out there, and there's a ton of other tax reasons that are very advantageous for these tech companies. However, they have to be so careful about who they hire because they just work here for life now. So
yeah, and one way that they get around that is by offering like 2-year contracts, and then that's it. And so many people, when their contracts are up, it's kind of like a limbo. Are they going to hire me full time, or am I going to have to go back? And what does that go back process look like? And that is one way that the employers get around having basically these employees for life, is to offer them a contract for a set period of time. But then once that contract's up, in most cases, they pretty much just let you go.
Yeah. And it's rough, especially because they have all these people coming in who are also really talented and really eager. There just isn't a lot of incentive for them to really invest in anyone. And also the interview process is crazy long. As I was going through this process, I mean, I think I got to like my 5th interview with Booking. I talked to somebody over at Uber. I had started talking to Uber, but someone who had gotten a job kind of at the level that I was looking at in Uber, she had 12 interviews over 9 months before they hired her. And I just like simply did not have that amount of time.
Right. And it was a gamble that you couldn't really take, because if you lost your 30% ruling, you might as well go back. And to be clear, the 30% ruling is something that is offered to foreign knowledge workers, and Americans in particular really seem to be taking advantage of over in the Netherlands. And essentially it means that the first 30% of your income goes untaxed.
Right.
So that's huge.
It is, but they also just recently changed the rule so that you used to be able to get that for 7 years, or was it 8 years? I can't remember, but they changed it to 5.
Yeah. So
a real bummer.
At some point that's going to run out for me.
Right. And I had already used up a year, so I was also kind of looking at, as you and I were talking about, like, as gay as our situation looked from the outside, that was never the situation. And you and I both wanted to get married, and that we were not going to get married to each other. And, I've kind of been trying to figure out, like, okay, so where getting married involves kind of chilling out for a second for the most part. You know what I mean? Like, where is this going to happen? And am I going to do all of this and pay all of these extra taxes? There was a lot to consider. There's a lot of kind of calculus going on, but I did actually end up getting a job. I got hired as the director of content for an international SaaS company. It was not #ideal. It was a position that would have been cool in that it was an international role, and that I would have been traveling. They had offices in Spain and Sweden and London and Germany, a couple other places. I would have been entirely building a department from the ground up. There were a lot of things about it that really appealed to me. What did not so much appeal to me was that it was not even in Amsterdam. It was in Utrecht, which is a good 45-minute journey with trains and buses and all of that to get to the office. And also, I was the very first non-Dutch person that they had ever hired. And every single person in that office was a native Dutch speaker. They only spoke Dutch in the office, and they very strongly made it clear that I needed to learn to be functional in Dutch very quickly. And while I kind of embraced that challenge and was like, you know what, this is going to make me finally learn Dutch, and what a weird situation, and how cool is this going to be? I was apprehensive, as you might imagine.
So this is December, and the last time we recorded a podcast, I think it was in early January. So we talked about how I went to the Christmas markets with Aunt Beth and whatnot, and you were back in Ohio visiting your family. So you go back to Ohio with the intention of coming back to Amsterdam and taking this Utrecht job.
Yeah, 100%. And I was a little bummed when I left, because I didn't feel like we really got to say goodbye, because even though we didn't think it was going to be a big goodbye, we thought I was going to be back. It was kind of the end of an era, because when I came back, we weren't going to be living together anymore. We weren't going to be working together anymore. And I think that we were both really ready to take that next step. But once again, it wasn't because we hated each other or we had some big problem. It was just, you spend 2 years really working on your own evolution, and you realize when it's time to take that next step. And we both wanted that for ourselves and for each other, but it was still sad, It was, yeah. It was bittersweet. Yeah, it was so the right step, and we knew it, but it also kind of felt like we never totally got to have that last I don't know. It felt like we should have lit some candles or burned some sage or something. I don't know what we should have done. I don't know how to end it, you know?
Yeah, whatever it was, we didn't do it.
Yeah, it just didn't happen, which was fine. And in some ways it was better that way because I think I mean, I still am emotional thinking about it. And I think that both you and I, when we get to those really emotional moments, we're like, how about we just don't? Like,
yeah, let's not. We can skip it, you know?
Right? We're like, how about we just gloss right over this and keep it moving? So,
yeah.
So that's what we did. Very healthy. Anyways. But yeah, I really thought what sucks about it is that beyond just not getting to really close that chapter the way I really kind of wish that I could have, I really didn't say goodbye to Amsterdam. My last night there, I did have this weird like bug up my butt, and I took the metro up to the city center and bought like an Amsterdam sweatshirt. And it was pouring down rain. It was awful outside. But for some reason, I just like really wanted to have one of these touristy Amsterdam sweatshirts while I was back in Ohio. And I did that. But that was it. Like I didn't say goodbye to people. I didn't really say goodbye to the city. That's certainly not what I would have done on my last night if I had known it was my last night.
Right. So the next day you get on a plane. I'm in Germany while this is happening. So I'm like, all right, I've got to go pop a German Christmas market tour with my Aunt Beth. And so we left, and Kelly had a few more days in Amsterdam, and then she was going to get on a plane and go to Cleveland. So that's what you did.
I did. And the whole time I was on the plane, I was feeling weird about coming back to the US because you and I left at about the time shit in the US started getting real weird. like right kind of workationing kind of coincided with the beginning of the Trump presidency. And I wasn't super excited to get back, to be real with you. And on the plane, I decided to watch the first season of A Handmaid's Tale because I felt like I needed to like prepare for re-entry, which was... like really the best way I could think of to do it. So, and I did, and I drank wine on the plane as a Gringa does. And I was so exhausted. And that show is, for anyone who hasn't watched it, harrowing. And I was having all the emotions, but the plane wheels touched down in Cleveland at the exact second that the finale of season 1 started rolling credits. And I had, and the song that plays right then is Tom Petty's American Girl. And I mean, I was home for the first time in like a year. I was feeling very emotional. And I just had such a strong feeling that song was a sign, that it was like the universe speaking to me directly. And even in the moment as I'm feeling this and like tears are literally streaming down my face, I also was like, this is crazy. You have had too much wine and you're exhausted on an airplane, and calm down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it stuck with me. So I got back to Cleveland, started seeing family and friends, and that was all really nice. And I was still had every intention of going back to Amsterdam, but there was like this thing in the back of my mind. Like I couldn't stop thinking about that moment. And I woke up on like day 3 back in the US, and I just 100% knew I wasn't going back. And I knew that the decision had been made, which was kind of crazy because it wasn't a thought that I'd even been having. It's just something that suddenly became very clear to me. And it should have been harder to make than it felt because I was super emotional about it because I hadn't gotten to say goodbye. I absolutely loved living in Amsterdam. And also I had no idea what my plan B was going to be. Like I had not one clue of what I was going to do instead. But it's just, I don't know. I think that both you and I have talked about over the last couple of years how like workationing made us woo in a way that we never thought we would be.
Yeah. I mean, like we've said on multiple occasions, the universe takes care. If you just like continue to act in your own best interest and to take steps to move forward and whatever that may be, like whether that is starting to work out for the first time when, girl, you're getting a little fat, or like you knew it was time to take the next step in your career. Okay, well, like that's a scary move to make. And to have that conversation and to be like, all right, well, I think that it's time for me to move on. And it's really easy to stay stuck. We talked a lot about that throughout the podcast. And how do you unstick yourself? You have to like take the next best step. Just start taking a step, you know? And when you do that, suddenly everything kind of like falls into place. And I've experienced that beyond our travels together and workationing over the last several months. And I'll talk about that, like manifesting your own destiny. And essentially that's what you did.
Yeah, I really feel like the voice that told me to stay in the US is the same voice that told me to go do the workationing thing in the first place. And in both situations, I had no idea what that was going to look like or what the next step was going to be, but I just knew that it was the right move. And in some ways, it was even harder to make the decision to come back than it was to make the decision to leave. But I had just like worked that muscle so hard over the last few years. And I knew that I could take that leap without knowing where I was going to land and that it was going to work out one way or another. Because I just knew that as much as I loved my life in Amsterdam, I got to this place where I started to feel like I was holding on too hard to something. And when things are going really well for me, it doesn't feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that that it isn't work. No matter what you're doing, it's always work. But when you get that feeling that like you're just trying so fucking hard to make something happen and you just can't, and it just doesn't feel right, and you just like you get this like uneasy, restless. I knew that I was in a place where I was trying to make something happen that wasn't the thing that was supposed to happen right then.
Right. Stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not gonna.
Exactly. So I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just decided to make the decision and I did it. So, and it ended up being just like anything. When you make that first really hard decision, it always ends up being easier than you think it's going to be. So the very first job that I applied for was basically my dream job. It was as the director of content marketing for a brand that is a kind of a direct to consumer e-commerce situation, wherein I was going to get the opportunity to not just run content marketing, but to really guide the voice and the messaging of a brand while also kind of building a content marketing team from the ground up. And to me, that is just juicy and fun and exciting. And I was really, really excited about the opportunity, and even more excited when after I applied, they got back to me in an hour and set up an interview. So that's always a good sign.
Yeah, that is. That indicates that maybe you might be a good fit for the position.
Right. And the other thing that really happened kind of immediately was that I reconnected with one of my best friends, George. And this is a guy that I've wanted something to work with him for years and years and years. And I never had, to be fair, there was never any indication. He and I had a few false starts and a few near misses. And I think I just sort of accepted that we were always going to just be really good friends. And there was really nothing in our history that indicated even that we could have a good relationship with each other, or like a healthy, productive relationship. But I came back, and over the last couple of years, he had gone through many things personally. I had gone through many things personally. And all of a sudden, the timing was just right. And after hanging out a few times, we decided to finally actually give dating a try. He kissed me at midnight on New Year's Eve and kind of just went from there. And I am currently in the best, most healthy, functional, wonderful, fun, easy relationship I've ever been in. And I'm just like, could not be happier.
You talk to me about it all the time and say what a wonderful guy is. I can't wait to meet him. We didn't get to meet up when I was out in Gainesville, and we'll get to that story in a minute. But I'm so happy for you, and you really do seem so much happier. Like, we're all out here trying not to die alone, you know?
Yeah.
And I had Nico and
like a year ago with the relationship series, you and I were both kind of in like the hurt locker with relationships.
Yeah, dude, it sucks sometimes. And especially at this age, you know, like, we're not spraying chickens anymore. Although the Botox needles keep me looking fresh, you know, but like it's it's hard out here in these streets. And especially when you like have hope for a relationship that would work out. I mean, like when I started dating my ex, when we first came to Amsterdam, I thought that was it for me. I thought for sure, like, how could it not work? He was like perfect on so many levels, except for the one that he wasn't, you know? And I wasn't perfect for him, I don't think. And that just like fucking sucked to be so close and yet essentially like further away than ever. And so when you're in a relationship that works, it's like, you learn to cherish and appreciate it a lot more than I did, say, in my 20s when I didn't know what good was.
No, I had no idea what good was. And I'm actually, as much as he and I had some real difficulties in our friendship over the years, because I was constantly like, why are we doing this? You know? And he just wasn't having it. And I'm actually so grateful now that we didn't, and that we did wait till now, because like the person that I am now is ready for this relationship now in a way that I have not been in the past. And this relationship has helped me see how much, because I really do like love him on every level, because this is somebody that I've known for like 10 years. You know what I mean? And it's not like an illusion that I have in my head. I know who he is. He knows who I am. I guess I can just see the ways in which I didn't really value the people that I was with in the past. Like I was always wanting something from them, or not really accepting them for who they actually were, and not meeting them where they actually were. And that in some ways I was really, really unfair. And like this relationship with George has really shown me what love is actually about, and like what it means to actually love somebody. And I mean, I think I've been a difficult girlfriend in the past, but with him, I like can't even find something to complain about, because even when there's something that's not perfect, I feel like I have the perspective to just appreciate all of the things about it that are so wonderful and so rare, you know, like when you really, I mean, we talked about it. I went on on Workationing, probably over 100 first dates.
Yeah.
Like I really got out there. I looked around. I inventoried the merchandise, and I got to tell you, it's rough out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had much different Tinder experiences, but I can confirm it is indeed hard out on these streets. And it's hard for guys too, but you made it work, and you also made that job application work.
I did. So it took a couple of months because they did not want to hire someone remotely, but I was not ready to give that up. And Gainesville has really become like a second home for me, and I really like it a lot, but it's not, I had waited so long for things to work with George. I had missed my just like home and my community and all of that so much in Ohio. And I just wasn't really ready to leave. When I got home, it was clear that I didn't just want to come back to the States, that I wanted to like come back to Northeast Ohio. Like that's what I really wanted. But they did finally hire me, which was fantastic. And I spend about a week a month down here now, and the rest of the time I'm virtual. And the craziest thing is that the day that I accepted the offer, I was down here, and I found out on that day after I'd accepted the offer that Gainesville, I had no idea, is actually the home of Tom Petty. Like he was born here.
Yeah.
And in American Girl, he name checks Highway 441. And the office that I work in is on Highway 441. Like
it's kismet.
Yeah. Like from the American Girl song. Like, and I felt like that was like the universe speaking to me. And it was, and I would listen to that song while we were workationing. And there's kind of this talking about a girl, she's standing out on her balcony on 441, thinking about this guy that like she never really could make it work with, and like feeling kind of wistful about it. And I always thought about George when I would listen to that song when we were workationing, and just like there was so much in there. And it's so crazy that song, where I had this like really irrational but powerful moment where I was like, this song is giving me the answer. It's pointing the way. This is it. I should listen to this. And and look at it now. Like it's just, I mean, I get more woo every day, girl.
I'm like tearing up hearing you talk about it. Like we're going to have to name the title of this episode American Girl, I feel like.
Oh, we should. No, like even like
stop it, I'm crying.
This Airbnb that I'm staying at, I stay here in this building all the time when I'm down here, and my car is parked like in the parking deck out back, and it's right next to this giant mural of Tom Petty inside of the parking deck. Like I park next to it every day. And I'm just like, thank you, Tom Petty.
Right? But like you and I are not religious people. I was raised Mormon, but that didn't really stick.
Right.
And it, like, you know, I don't believe in a sky daddy who's waiting to send us to hell if we don't do X, Y, and Z. But I do throughout the course of my life. Like the universe takes care. And if you're doing the right things will happen to you. And like, yeah, like shit happens no matter, you know, how good of a person you are or what path you're walking. And you got to understand that there's always going to be some chaos there, but how you roll with it. And there are often opportunities in chaos too. If you can just like step back and observe them and then, you know, again, take steps toward your own best interest. And I've been feeling kind of woo lately too. And workationing and this whole process has really shown me that it's going to be okay.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that being able to find that sense of safety within yourself, like knowing that, because like you and I did some crazy shit, girl. And even just thinking over this last year, how did I get here? Like I'm in Gainesville in this Airbnb and I'm thinking about like, a year ago, I was like on that job hustle, trying to figure that out, not knowing what the next move was going to be in Amsterdam. And I never could have, I could have guessed till the sun died and I wouldn't have guessed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just learning to trust your instincts, to trust yourself, to trust your ability to take care of yourself, to trust that maybe there actually is some kind of benevolent force in the universe that might give a fuck, or that at least you can tap into and gain some guidance from if you really open yourself up to possibilities. Finding that for me, like I'm getting emotional. Like that changed everything about my life and in the best possible way.
Meanwhile, back in Amsterdam, ... So Kelly has had all of these, you know, the progression of her relationship with George and, you know, obviously deciding to stay in the U.S. and the new job in Gainesville, which now I'm tapped into weirdly. We'll get to that. Yeah. But so Kelly leaves and I stay in Amsterdam and, you know, still can't stop, won't stop. I am about this workationing life. And I am in Antalya, Turkey right now because Nico does a lot of business in Turkey. He has a company that does the duty-free sales on planes and sometimes catering depending on the contract. So essentially, if you're buying like a bottle of wine or, you know, some Ray-Ban sunglasses on a plane, it's Nico's company that's selling it to you. Yeah, it's Nico's. And so he got a place out in Antalya. So we've been kind of splitting our time between Amsterdam and Antalya, Turkey, which is absolutely gorgeous. I am looking out the window right now. I can see the ocean, palm trees. The food is incredible here. I've never been to a place that has such good food, and it is a real struggle not to get fat. And like I'm losing that battle right now. I'm trying to turn it around. I'm down a couple pounds.
And like the US has done me no favors. I hear you, sister.
Oh my God. It's just like a lifelong struggle. Welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch. Like, God, it's so much fun to get fat and it's so not fun to get skinny. I got to tell you, it's like, I'd really rather do just about anything than work out. I don't enjoy it. It's not a pleasurable experience for me, but I've learned the hard way. That it needs to be something that I consistently keep in my life because I am 36 years old and the snapback, not as easy as it used to be, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, Antalya is awesome. And actually, I was so bummed that you weren't here for this. This is like one time when, you know, I miss you all the time. But this was one instance where I was just like, damn, Kelly would have loved this. Some fans contacted us and reached out and said, hey, I'm going to be in Amsterdam. Can we meet up? And he's got a company and I think she does freelance writing and they're awesome.
They're cool. Awesome they people. Take such amazing travel photos.
Yeah. And then Catherine came out, and she is a virtual personal trainer.
Yeah, I was on her podcast
and she came out. Oh, yeah. So she came out, and she was in town because one of her clients was running the London Marathon. And so while she was in the neighborhood, she just popped on down to Amsterdam. And we did the tulips after I did the tulips with Robbie and Lauren because they had a train to catch or something. And then I took her to the club, and we talked about all kinds of stuff. And it was impact the podcast has had on so many people and in so many different ways. And in having fans reach out to us, which happens still all the time. And people are like still not rediscovering, they're discovering the podcast for the first time. And they're going through it. And like we get Facebook messages, and we have the Workationing Facebook group, which has now over 3,000 members in it. We don't promote it really, aside from mentioning it on the podcast and only in the later episodes. But like over 100 people a week sometimes are joining the Workationing Facebook group. And it's so cool. And they mentioned that they found us through the podcast. In hearing the stories, and specifically, we get a lot of feedback about BetterHelp too, because people didn't know that internet therapy was a thing until we started talking about how we love our internet therapist. And honestly, if it weren't for my internet therapist, I don't know how I would have gotten through the last year, because so many things have changed. And like, I travel a lot, and it was really nice to be able to keep my same therapist no matter where I went. It's not like I was having to therapist hop every time I went to a different place or like go without. And so if you guys want to check it out, if the listeners want to check it out, betterhelp.com/workationing. That's betterhelp.com/workationing. We'll get you a week of free internet therapy to check it out. And like I said, I've gotten feedback from so many people who were just like, hey, thank you for the podcast, but also like, thank you for BetterHelp, because it's completely made a difference in my life and for the better. And do you still talk to your internet therapist, Cal?
Yeah, actually, I just signed back up recently because I've just been going through a lot. And also, I'm traveling constantly, and when I'm between Cleveland and Gainesville, and then also when I'm not traveling, I still am just so busy. Like, even when I'm not traveling, it's so difficult there is no such thing as me taking an hour in the middle of the day plus travel time to go and see a therapist somewhere. I guarantee you that I would cancel that appointment 9 times out of 10. Like, that is not feasible for me. Like, I'm too busy. My job is extremely demanding, and I just couldn't make it happen, to be honest with you. Like, that's just not realistic. And also, sometimes I need to be able to do it on my own rhythm. I think that a lot of times you get in with a therapist, and especially for people who are kind of more on our track, where it's like I'm not necessarily actively struggling with my mental health right this second. Not that I never do. Sometimes I do. But like, mostly I'm looking for kind of just like support and feedback. I want to work on myself in certain ways. I want to vent about things that I'm stressed about. I want to set goals and priorities for myself. And like a therapist, they're also like overwhelmed with requests from patients and stuff that they're like, all right, girl, well, we'll see you again in 6 weeks. And like, just because I'm not actively having a breakdown doesn't mean that I want to only talk to a therapist every 6 weeks. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And with BetterHelp, you can talk to your internet therapist whenever you want to. You can just email them whenever. Like, I email mine, honestly, like 5 times a week. And if you want, you can have like a face-to-face session. I prefer not.
Yeah. Although I do it sometimes now just because I'm on video so much for my job. I've already done my hair and makeup, so it's a little less awful.
Yeah. But again, if you guys want to get in on the action, betterhelp.com/workationing is the way to do it. And I personally can't recommend it highly enough. And Kelly, I think that you'd agree with me.
Totally. Yeah. I think it's for literally everyone.
So with the BetterHelp stuff aside, I have been over here just manifesting the fuck out of things. Turns out you can do that. I'm in a lot of like female entrepreneurship groups and stuff, or just entrepreneur groups. And you get these like life coaches and shit. And they're just, you can manifest whatever you want as long as you have an abundance mindset. And I'm just like, girl, who do you think you're talking to? Like, can we can we come down to reality, please? Because actually it takes more than just wishing something into existence and work. Now I've pulled back on that a little bit because I came across an article in Ad Age about one Miss Cindy Gallup. And Cindy Gallup basically instantly became my career idol. She is 57 years old. She basically invented cause-based marketing. If you're familiar with the Dove Real Beauty campaign, which had those billboards of, women of all different sizes and colors. And the tagline, I think, was "Love the skin you're in," which is just fabulous.
Iconic.
That was iconic. Exactly. That was Cindy Gallup's brainchild. And so I read this Ad Age article, and the title of it is literally "Cindy Gallup doesn't give a fuck what you think, or doesn't care what you think." And I was just like, well, let me read on. And this woman is so badass. She's probably the most badass. Like I said, she's my career idol. And she's won Advertising Person of the Year, which is basically the award for the best person in advertising. She has that trophy. But she also has this apartment that Nelly, Puff Daddy, and Usher used in their rap video. If that's not hashtag goals, I don't know what is. They could have picked literally anything, and they were like, no. I need to produce this video in Cindy Gallup's apartment. And she is just a champion for women. And like I said, totally baller. Her TED Talk has 2.5 million views, to give you an idea. And so I was just I am going to stalk this lady. I'm going to read everything I can about her. I just cannot consume enough Cindy Gallup content. And I followed her across all of her social media channels. And I posted on Facebook. I linked to that Ad Age article that made me an Insta fan. And I said, I don't care if it takes me a week or 10 years, I will make Cindy Gallup my mentor or die trying. And I commented on one of her LinkedIn posts that she had a huge fan over at the Sisters in SEO Facebook group that I founded or co-founded and co-admin with Samantha Pennington. I started that group last year, almost exactly a year ago. And it has since grown to become the largest network of women in the SEO industry, which is my particular area of expertise, search engine optimization. And so I posted the Ad Age article about Cindy Gallup in that group, and the ladies lost their minds, because now we all have a new career idol. And I thought I'd let Cindy know. So I just commented on one of her LinkedIn posts, and just so you know, you've got a huge fan club over at the Sisters in SEO Facebook group. And she said, that's funny. You mentioned that because I'm looking for help with SEO for my project, Make Love Not Porn. And I was like,
the universe.
Well, do I know a girl? I got a lady for you, hi, it's me. And long story short, 3 Skype calls later, I got to have Skype video calls with my career idol because I just commented that I loved what she was doing. She hired us. She hired the Content Factory to manage SEO for Make Love Not Porn. And I get to talk to her anytime I want to. She knows who I am. She posted on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter about how everyone should hire the Content Factory, which was a career high for me, honestly. When you get the opportunity to work with somebody that you respect so much and that you have so much to learn from, and you do a good job, and then that person becomes your brand champion, I've never had a more fulfilling moment career-wise in my entire life. And we were talking about it, Kelly, and I was just can you believe that Cindy Gallup knows who I got to talk to? I call her Aunt Cindy. She doesn't know that I call her Aunt Cindy, but I'm just Aunt Cindy and I got, we just had another great call. Anyway, so that's one example of how I actually manifested. I put it out into the universe, but I didn't just put it out into the universe. I took steps to actively stay on her radar, and it paid off. And in very short order, never guessed that it was a week from the time that I made that Facebook post to the time that she signed the contract with the Content Factory.
No, that was crazy.
And it's just like, I called you like really freaking out about it. Like I called Kelly and I swear to God, the first like 45 seconds of the call were just me running around the house while yelling into the phone, I did it. I fucking did it. I did it. And I couldn't even like spit out the words. And Kelly was like, well, what, is it good? Like, what did you do?
What is it? Did you burn the house down? Like,
yeah.
Are we happy?
Yeah, what kind of yell is this? You know? And it was just like, I hung up the phone with Cindy Gallup and then I called Kelly just to let her know because like she knew that this was kind of in the works. And I was like, I can't believe I fucking did it. And going back to like, what is manifestation really? I mean, like we manifested workationing. Like we created something that didn't exist before. And it was essentially just because we were like, well, we're going on this journey. Where's it going to take us? I don't know. When we got on the plane to go to Puerto Rico for our first workationing destination, we had no idea where this ride was going to take us or where we would end up. And we certainly didn't know that we'd end up in Acapulco or Medellin, or that like we'd end up getting Dutch visas and living in Amsterdam for a year. Like I'm still there. But again, just to the people who are listening, if you like got something that you want to do and you haven't done anything to like move in the direction of getting what you want, just take any step and then wake up tomorrow and like take another small step. And you'd be surprised how far you can go and how fast when you just kind of like align your intentions with your actions with your intentions. And then all of a sudden you're like laser focused, even though it doesn't really seem that way. And I just can't say enough about that particular area of what I've been able to do with my life since starting workationing and even before then, because it kind of happened with the Content Factory too. But like Kelly, don't you believe in manifestation now?
Yeah, I really do. I think I definitely think it's a real thing. I am definitely more woo than I used to be, but also kind of what I feel like you're kind of getting at too is that it's not necessarily a totally woo thing. Like it's not magic. It doesn't happen overnight. It sometimes really feels like magic, but a lot of what it is just opening yourself up and like really respecting and honoring your own inner voice and knowing, you know, when things aren't going right or when there's something that you want that you're not getting for yourself and starting to take those steps. And what's so crazy about it is that on the one hand, it is a grind. Like it does involve, it's not like you just put it on your vision board. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It does involve waking up every single day, or at least most days. Because actually, I think something else I've learned through this process is that it doesn't have to, you do not have to be perfect. But if more days,
nobody is.
No one is. And sometimes you get exhausted and sometimes you're better at it than others. And sometimes you walk away from it for a while and come back. But if more days than not, you wake up in the morning and you think, okay, what am I going to do today that's going to get me one step closer to this goal? And when you do that, and you also do so in a way that you're keeping yourself open to opportunities, I actually think that just like being kind to other people is weirdly a big part of it. You know what I mean? Like you've got to be coming at it from a positive place. But when you do that, the kind of magic that just happens is crazy, because it is a grind, but it also happens. It's a grind when you're in it every day. This is something that I'm really accepting in my life right now, is that like right now I am in the grind, but also I have been in this space enough times now that I know that if I just keep going, I'm going to get where I'm going. And I'm already starting to see big progress. But yeah, it's a daily grind. It also happens faster and more profoundly than you think. Like it's a weird process, and it's a muscle, I think, that you have to work and get better at over time. But I think that manifesting is real. It really is.
So I had my hippie friend, Carla Mora from New Hampshire. She came out to Antalya and stayed with us for about a week. And I love her to death. I really do. She is just ultra woo. And I kind of needed that at the time that she was here. And I was so grateful that she came out to visit. When she did, she brought me some crystals. like actual crystals, and like a little crystal bracelet. She brought me 2 of them. One was light pink and one is kind of like a turquoise color. And she was like, you know, I just felt really compelled to gift you these. And, you know, when you wear them, just like think of all the good energy and intention that's being put or, you know, that has been put into these crystals and that you can continue to put into the crystals. I actually like leave them out in the moonlight sometimes, charge those bitches up because like it can't hurt, you know?
Right.
And like, do I believe that like the moonlight is really charging crystals in a way that's like gonna have any significant impact in my life? No, not really. However, just like wearing them and reminding myself to like be a good person and to have like my actions aligned with my intentions, it kind of keeps me on the straight and narrow. It's nice to have that reminder, but she's ultra woo and she hit me with all of it. And I loved it, I got to tell you. And in fact, when I came out to Gainesville to visit, I realized that she gave me 2 because one, the light pink one, obviously, Kelly, was destined to be on your wrist.
I'm wearing it right now.
I'm wearing mine right now too.
Oh my God.
And we wonder why people think that we're gay.
I know.
It's like we don't have wedding rings, but we do have woo bracelets, and it's not quite the same thing.
But I charged mine last night because it was like it was Friday the 13th at a full moon, but I chose to see that as lucky.
Yeah. Well, we lived through it. High five.
Yeah. And once again, like, do I think that the moon is charging my crystals and no. But to me, what that stuff kind of is more like a ceremony of intention. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's like me reminding myself of what my intentions are and like really kind of sitting with that and having that thought process for a moment in a way that feels special. And then when I look at my bracelet, I remember that. Like I remember the intentions that I put into it and where my head was at. And it just kind of helps refocus, you know?
Yeah. No, I love it. And I think that like I said, I'm just so grateful and appreciative that she came out and visited at the time that she did, because I was like, I had just lost a big client and it had been like a long time coming. Kelly, you know how this went.
Yeah.
The listeners really don't, but you can vouch for the fact that long story short, there were some management changes at this company that we had worked with. I'd had the contract for 5 years. And it's incredibly difficult to keep a contract for that long as an agency. And in fact, most agencies do not keep clients that long.
No.
And we've done really great work for them. But this new marketing manager came in and was aggressively incompetent.
Yes.
And in a way that caused a lot of problems for my team. Like, Kelly, how many bullshit terrible emails did she send you on the weekend?
So many. And it was beyond just being aggressively incompetent. I just don't think that I've ever worked with anyone throughout my entire career that was that unprofessional and just nasty while also not knowing what she was doing. So
yeah,
it's fun.
It was, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 42 on the bad scale. Like and so like she offered me a contract extension, but only like partially. And I needed to put my money where my mouth is, because I often say that it's easier to find a new client than it is to find a new employee. And it got to the point where after Kelly left, nobody wanted to take over the account. I had to like pull in some favors and promise it was a short-term thing to get people to work on this account.
I knew like I was on my way out, because like when somebody's sending you that nasty, like nasty, horrible, and then also just like really kind of obtuse and ignorant emails that show that they don't even know the fundamentals of marketing. And they're sending this to you on a Sunday and they would like a response. Like that is not fun.
No. And like, she wouldn't read the report. She'd have questions that have been answered 15 times. And it was just like a real time and energy suck. And like, going back to the woo, girl, when you have like some toxic negative energy in your life, it like trickles over into other aspects of your life too, you know? Yeah. And it was just like really bringing me down, man. And like, it was coming to the end of the contract and I was just like, I love the money, but at the same time, I can't sign on for another year of working with this lady. And it sucks because like, I really loved that client as a brand. And again, we'd done so much cool work for them, but like, it was just like, it was time for me to say no. And it was time for me to say no at a time when Carla came out and she kind of talked me through it. And she did it in a very hippie way, you know, like raise your vibration. And she's got those low vibes. You need the high vibes, girl. And I'm like, yeah, I do actually, you know, and however you want to phrase it, essentially, Carla was giving me the same advice that my internet therapist was. You know, she was just like phrasing it in a different way. And I had so many people in my life being like, girl, just give up this ghost. You know, you told me that. You were like, let this contract go and it'll make room for better things. And so I let it go. And the last time that I ever emailed that lady, I knew I'm never going to have to deal with this broad again. And it was like terrifying up until the point where I did it, because like I've never really dropped a client before. Yeah. And having that conversation was pretty awkward. And I specifically told her, like, your competition has reached out to me to work with them. And honestly, I'm kind of excited about it. I told her that on the phone. And it's going to be a new opportunity for me. And I think that we just need to move on. But I felt so free the last time I ever emailed her. And then that opened my staff up and my headspace up to bring on new and better clients, including your company.
Yeah. So I feel like it was so funny because I left TCF and like we knew it was coming, but we kind of like waited till we knew when it was going to happen before we, you know, let the whole team know. I think some people knew, but it was we were like, okay, goodbye, Kelly. And then like 60 days later, basically I hired you guys at my new place.
Yeah. Because if you need SEO or PR, you know of a lady who can handle that for you, you know?
Yes.
And part of that contract included me going out to Gainesville to media train Kelly's executive team. So we got to have a workation, and that was just 2 weeks ago.
No, it was so fun. And it was so great. It was so great to have you there. And also Jason, who is someone that worked at that startup that you and I met at all those many years ago in Pittsburgh. So the three of us have like really seen some things and had some times together over the years.
Yeah, we've known each other for 10 years. I've actually hired Jason twice. Once when I was starting and staffing the writing department at the startup that Kelly was referring to, and then again over at the Content Factory.
Yeah, so this is like the third company that we've like basically cycled through together, and it's fun. And like, you know what I love about it so much is that I love that I still get to work with you. I love that I still get to work with the TCF team because they're brilliant and wonderful. But, you know, like as much as it was hard to predict what this year was going to be like, and I was, you know, like I was saying, like thinking back to last September where I was and where my head was at. I mean, we did it, girl, because like we still get to work together. But like, I think that like as a client instead of an employee, I think that's just like a better dynamic.
Yeah, it is. And like, it's weird when you work with your friends, and it's weird when your friends are, you know, either your boss or your employee, and, you know, you tap workationing on all of that. And like, it's a very complicated dynamic that honestly, I think we navigated really well.
No, I think we did.
I'm really proud of it.
I am too. And I don't want any of this to sound like I wasn't happy at TCF. I was. And honestly, like you were one of the best bosses I ever had. And like, I hope you feel like I was a good employee. Like,
you were, yeah. No, I was very sorry to see you go, but I also understood why you had to and why you wanted to. And I can't compete with what you're being paid right now.
No, I mean, it's a good situation. And it's also, it's the next step for me. I am really being challenged right now. Like things right now are very hard on the work front, but not in a way that for me is really a net positive. Like I am really being pushed and being presented with challenges that I've never had before, but also opportunities that I've never had before. And I feel like I'm really I'm finally at a place in my career right now where I feel like I'm really stepping into like my own power and into a place where like my job is very specifically what I feel like I should be doing in the world, forming the messaging of a brand, and not just a brand, but a brand that, like, I wish I would tell, I'm not being vague to be weird. I just, like, this company did not ask to be dragged into the fuckery.
Our workationing adventure, right?
But it's not that I'm not, because I'm very proud to work there, because it's a brand that is extraordinarily ethical and is operating at a really high level, not just functionally and not just growing very quickly and not just creating a product that people really love, but creating the right kind of company for the right reasons. And that's just something that I know as marketers, I know you're very particular about who you bring on as clients at TCF, because it doesn't feel, nobody likes, as a marketer, it's very easy to get tempted into using your powers for bad. And it always feels better when you're using your powers for good. And I know that you've always been very intentional about that at TCF, and which is what made it so fun to work there. But I'm so glad that I was able to find a job where, like, I really feel like I get to use all of my powers and I get to use them for good. Yeah.
No, and I love supporting you in that. We've got a hot Forbes profile piece coming out for your CEO. And, like, being able to work with a company that is ethical is so much better than, like, well, this is a shit show. Let's see if we can get this some media coverage, but then hide all the bad. You know, I don't think you would have been as happy if you were working at Uber, quite frankly.
No, I know that was a big consideration for me. It was just that, like, honestly, Uber is not a company that I particularly admire or that I would particularly want to be involved in. And I had qualms about even applying in the first place. I was just kind of in this desperation mode where I was just seeing what was out there. I knew I wasn't going to apply to Shell, which was one of the biggest employers in Amsterdam for English-speaking people. I wasn't going to work directly for the devil.
Right.
But yeah, it was a big consideration. And it's nice to be working for a brand that's not just not actively evil, but that is, you know, really trying to do some good in the world. And it's fun. And I love that I get to have you guys along with me in this new journey too. Like, it's been awesome.
And so the next thing we have on the agenda here, because we loosely outline what we're going to talk about and we kind of skip around, but looking back at workationing, because you're going to still be a part of the podcast, but it's not going to be me and you every single episode anymore.
No, and I think I think this is, like, the next logical step. Like, with just like, I was talking about before, there's always something about okay, I'm not going to cry, I swear. I might cry. The time.
Now I'm going to cry. You said that and I'm just like, I wasn't going to cry until you said that.
Sorry. But, like, the 2 years that we spent together, like, really doing it, like, those were the 2 best years of my life. And, like, the 2 most magical years of my life. And I'm so grateful for them, and I wouldn't trade them for anything in the world. I'm so proud of both of us for how much we grew and learned and how much we accomplished and how much we showed up for each other and how much we continue to show up for each other. And I just think the whole thing is so fucking beautiful. And I know right now, like, I'm in this place where I am so busy and my focus has shifted. And for all the reasons we've, talked about, it's the right move right now. And you're still kind of more in it. And, like, I want you to keep moving forward with it with, like, my full love and support and blessing and, like, all the woo girls in the world,
Yeah. Oh, stop it. Now I'm crying too. Because I miss you so much. And I'm just not done with the adventure yet, And, like, there's this, oh God. Woo. There's this, right? Ooh, let it out. There's this scene in the movie Fandango.
Oh God.
Which I know, which we've held hands and cried through. And there's so much that, like, we went on that trip from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. We made a road trip in a Beamer, and we took a bottle of Dom and we buried it not deep enough in the desert.
Oh, it's exploded by now for sure. Probably like day 2, let's be clear.
It was just so hot, and I was wearing flip-flops, and the ground was real hard. It doesn't make it look that way in the movies where they're burying bodies. It's just all of a sudden there's this 6-foot deep hole.
That would have taken
it was so hot. It was 120 degrees. There was no shade, no cloud cover. And like, so there's this scene, and that episode was so inspired by Fandango. And Fandango, I can't recommend that movie highly enough. You got to go watch it if you haven't yet. There's this scene with Kevin Costner, and, you know, everyone else is kind of moving on. It's at the end of the movie. Somebody gets married and other people are going off to the Vietnam War, and he had been drafted, and he was just like, I'm not going to go. And he said, got to keep moving. Got a bird dog. And like, I kind of feel that way. I love traveling, and I have set up my life and my business in a way that enables me to do things that most people don't get to. And I love that. I don't want to give it up. And I have to keep moving. Got a bird dog, got to roam, you know? And like, it's good for my soul to do that. And I think that it's good to set an example for other people of what life can be like if you intentionally set it up for yourself that way. And like, not everyone wants to have this gypsy soul that I have been blessed/cursed with, but for me, it works. And we've gotten so much feedback from listeners over the years, and we've made more of an impact, I think, than we realized or that we ever expected. I didn't know that we were going to be in Fast Company, or that Glamour was going to call us digital nomad role models, or, you know, that you were going to be in Women's Health and get a full feature, and like all of these things that have led to more people discovering the podcast, more people taking an interest in the project, and more people reaching out and letting us know how, you know, we've shown them what's possible. And so for me, it's important for me to keep that project going, because this has become a labor of love for me. And with who knows how it impacts other people, but like, I want to keep trying, you know, and I'm going to be doing this weird shit anyway. Like, since our last podcast, I've accidentally gone to 2 separate brothels. I didn't mean to, you know, that's like a funny story. And I'll tell that in a different episode. I was going to mention it here, but it's like too long and too off topic. But as a lady, you can have so many adventures, and you can make your life whatever you want it to be. And it hasn't really been modeled. And before the internet, it wasn't really possible. And so let me continue to model that. Let me continue to just document my shenanigans and bring into the podcast to give their perspective. I want to have Carla Mora on to talk about her woo shit, you know, because that lady has an incredibly interesting story that deserves to be heard by a lot of people. And we've encountered so many others along this like workationing journey that I would love to introduce the listeners to. And there are so many stories that deserve to be told that aren't. And we've got this platform that I really don't want to walk away from. And you'll always have a spot on this stage, Cal, anytime you want it, you know? And I think that we'll still have episodes together.
For sure. And like, I'm not going anywhere. I just like, I'm just in a different chapter right now. Like, I am working somehow harder than I've ever worked, because I think you know how hard it's been, you know,
yeah.
Like this is like a really good step for me, and it's really important. I think that, I don't know, I'm excited that I've gotten to tell my story, just because I think that there's a lot of people along the spectrum. You know what I mean? Like, you're still out there doing it. Like, I've kind of settled back down a little bit, although I'm still traveling constantly and working remotely and all of that. It's just on maybe a slightly more scaled down situation. But I don't know, like, I think that there's just like a lot of different ways. Everybody has their own journey, and I'm glad that we've gotten to each kind of share our own. And I am really fucking proud of the fact that we created something that became bigger than the both of us.
Yeah, I do. And it's weird. Did you ever expect it?
No, I really didn't. And like, to me, it just feels like, once again, like all this other stuff, it's a little bittersweet, like, to come to this next turning point. But like, I really do want it to move forward. And it feels like the natural point for workationing to expand beyond just my story and your story and the story that we had together, which, to be clear, will go down in history as the most epic story.
I know. No, and we have to go dig up Tom.
No, and you and I aren't done. Like, like you and I really have a connection that I know is going to be lifelong, and that there's going to be seasons to it, and that, but like, girl, like I'm in it with you for the long haul, sister. And you and I are going to travel together more. We're going to have more adventures together. And if I know anything based on our last 10 years of friendship, it's that you and I have no idea what the next 10 years are going to bring, but it's going to be some fucking shenanigans. And it's going to be awesome. And that we are going to continue to have adventures together, I think, for the rest of our lives.
I'm so grateful. I'm just so incredibly grateful that you took a risk in doing this with me, you know, and that it lasted for as long as it did, and that we really did cherish every moment, you know, like looking out over the city of Medellin, you know, holding hands and crying and being like, look at this gift that we gave ourselves.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I'm so glad that we did it. I'm so incredibly glad that we did it.
I am too. I couldn't, there's nothing that'll ever mean more to me. And like, I love you so much, girl.
I love you too. Do we want to recap what we've learned over the last 2 years?
Sure.
And then where workationing is going?
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds good.
Right? I got to stop crying.
I got to start crying too. I feel like I'm going to start crying. We'll see.
No, it's like a snotty cry too.
I know. I knew this was going to happen. This is why I waited to shower, because I'm supposed to go out after this. And I was like, I'm going to just let myself get gross and then we'll start over.
You're right.
Anyways, I think the biggest lesson, and you and I have talked about this so much, is just like, you can always get unstuck. Always.
Yeah, you're never trapped, even when you feel like you're trapped. And in fact, when you feel like you're extra trapped is a really, really good time for you to think of ways in which you can untrap yourself and start looking for those exit doors, because actually they're all around you all the time.
Yeah. And you need to look at yourself and understand what your self-limiting beliefs are. Because if you're listening to this right now and you're like, no, but really I am stuck. What are beliefs that are leading you to think that? Are you thinking that you can't leave your relationship? Are you thinking that you can't find a job that doesn't make you want to fucking kill yourself every day? Are you thinking that you can't possibly lose weight? It's just too hard. What are the things that you believe that are keeping you there? Because that's the shit that you need to start dismantling with the quickness, because it's what you believe about your situation. I'm not saying that there aren't limitations in life. I've actually had people kind of come at me over the last couple of years from some of this messaging and be like, well, that's just a very privileged situation. And I recognize deeply my own privilege and on many levels. But no matter where you are, there are always options. There's always options. And you just need to figure out what those are, and you need to take advantage of whatever opportunity is there and open yourself up to the possibility and the real knowledge that you're going to take this first opportunity and you might not know what the next one is, but you're going to take it as soon as you see it, and you're going to slowly climb your way out.
Those exit doors and opt-out buttons are really all around you. And Kelly lost over 100 pounds while workationing. I dropped some weight too, but Kelly, you one-upped me on that one. And but that was something that you had been sitting with for years. And honestly, so would I. And it was just like a complacency thing, like, oh, this is fine. I don't really want to look too closely at that, you know? And so by like refusing to look at it, you also refuse to give yourself the opportunity to get out of it. And work is another one. You know, we live in the internet era. There's nothing you can't teach yourself with some YouTube videos or online courses. You don't need to go to college. I dropped out, doing just fine, you know, but like education is a constant process. And if you are stuck in your job because you don't have the qualifications to get a different one or do something that you don't hate, then like stop watching TV and start watching YouTube videos. You know, you're still essentially watching TV. It's just a different kind of TV that you're watching. And you can get yourself the qualifications, or at least build up the skill set so that you can leave that shitty job that you hate so much. And I think that that's like the number one thing that I see so many people get trapped by is you hate your job, but you spend a third of your life doing it. And so why are you going to piss away a third of your life working for somebody you don't like? or, you know, in a job that you hate. That's the number one thing. And if you can break free of that, then you open yourself up to all kinds of different opportunities, and like run that math 5 years down the line, and your trajectory you can alter your trajectory at any time, honestly. And so just start taking those steps.
And you can't be afraid. I mean, if you've learned anything from listening to us over these last few years, and even this episode, it's that, like, don't let the fact that you don't know what it's going to look like at the end stop you from starting. Because to be real, even if you think you know what it's going to look like, you're wrong. It's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. And don't let the fact that you don't have a convincing story to tell yourself about how this is going to go keep you from getting started. Because regardless, it's not going to end up how you think. So just take that leap of faith and bet on yourself. You don't have to know what the end result is going to be. You just have to start moving in that direction.
Yes. And betting on yourself is huge. Like if you don't trust yourself, who can you trust? And honestly, you should not be relying on anybody else to get you where you want to go. That is a 100% internal thing that if you're struggling with it, girl, betterhelp.com/workationing will help you have somebody push you along and keep you on track. But like, God, do something, you know?
Seriously, because like this, I don't think this is cynical. I think this is real. And I think it's something that people need to get cozy with. The only person you're ever going to truly be able to count on is yourself. And that isn't to say that people are garbage or that, you know, you need to take a cynical world. But the reality is the only thing that you are ever going to be able to have actual control over is yourself and your own actions and your own mind. That's it.
Yep.
And so if you are looking for safety or security or affirmation or any of these things anywhere outside of yourself, like, you are putting your eggs into a basket that you don't have control over. And until you like look for that within yourself, like, you're never really going to find that safety that you're looking for.
No. And if you're relying on other people for that, like, number one, at some point they're probably going to fail you. Number two, you have no control over it. Number three, is that the kind of person you want to be, who's just constantly carried and propelled by other people? Or do you want to fucking stand on your own feet and start running it sometime? Because you can at any point. You can just start taking those steps, and, you know, a crawl becomes a walk, becomes a run. And like, you don't even notice that your pace is increasing once you get going.
No, and ultimately what you have to understand is that, like, it's very like Dorothy with the red slippers. You had the power all along, because regardless of whether or not you feel like you have the power or the safety or all of these things within yourself now, you actually do. It's the only thing you ever have had control over. And so if you are actively giving over that control or that power in your life to someone else or to something else, that in and of itself is a choice that you are actively making, whether it feels like you are or not.
And also, there's gonna be fear. This is like, who isn't fucking scared to death of life, honestly?
Girl, I just like have a panic attack like every day, and then I keep it moving. I don't know. Like, it just is what it is.
No, and we're all gonna die, you know? So like, and we don't know when. I'm old enough to now really start to fear my own mortality, and to like, I've lost enough people to where I really understand what that means. And like, when you have that, like, the ultimate fear is death for me, right? So then, like, well, what are you going to do to make sure that you pack as much life and accomplishments and goals, like goal achievement, into the time that you have in a way that makes a difference, whether it's for yourself or for others, is possible, to where, like, when you do die, you die with some sense of satisfaction instead of like a whole fuck ton of regret of what you could have done, what you should have done, how if only you would have. Like, that's not how you want to go out. That's certainly not how I want to go out.
Absolutely not. And also, like, this is our one shot. And life can be extraordinarily fun and magical and bizarre and crazy and all of these things. And that's not to say we all don't get pulled back down into the grind and just into the in and out, and you're still going to have to do your dishes, girl. But like,
yeah.
But that's all the more reason why you need to seek out those moments that are magical and that do give meaning to your life, because all of those millions of times that you did your dishes or did your laundry or sent emails or whatever, all of that stuff just kind of blends together and disappears and it's nothing. But the things that you remember are the times that you really connected with other people, that you really saw something that blew your mind, that you did something new, that you surprised yourself, that you know, those are the things that make up a life. And all the other shit is necessary, unfortunately. But you've got to make room for the good stuff.
And also, so much of it is your attitude, honestly. And like, I've got a couple of examples to point to. Like, it drives me crazy whenever I'm in an environment where I'm in this killer place, and then there's somebody bitching behind me about how it could be better. For example, Salda Lake Golu in Turkey is absolutely pristine. It's gorgeous. It's got healing mud that you can rub all over your body and then like bake in the sun before you go wash off. It's honestly one of the top 3 most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life, and I have been some places. It's right up there with the La Parguera Bio Bay in Puerto Rico, with the bioluminescent bay. Like, honestly, you got to come out to Turkey so I can take you to Salda Golu. It's like so fucking cool. It cost 10 lira to park. 1 star. I went in March and it was cold. I couldn't even get in the water. And I'm like, bitch, you went into the mountains of Turkey in March. I don't know what you expected.
Like, are you mad at the seasons? Like, what is your deal?
What you like? This is an incredible place, whether you get in the water or not. Can you just like observe the beauty that like this water is turquoise for no reason? Why? You know? And I went to Versailles. There was a rave in the Palace of Versailles. It was the first time the palace had ever been open for a party like this, and it was baller. I'm going to talk about it in a future episode, but like on the way back to the train from the palace, where there was just a rave hosted by the producers of Daft Punk. Like, it was so legit. There were fireworks. There were like lasers. There were people dressed up like Marie Antoinette. It was really cool. And on the way back to the train, there were these people walking behind us, and they were like, ugh. That was like not at all what I expected. This was not a good rave at all. And I don't understand why the bathroom lines had to be so long. And I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me?
First of all, how is this not what you expected? It was a rave at Versailles. What were you basing this on?
No, and it was in the palace gardens. Like, we were like at the palace. The rave was at the palace, and they lit it up all cool. And it was just, the production that went into it was just absolutely incredible. And these people couldn't stop bitching about how the lines for the bathroom were long. Well, like, what do you expect? Go to any festival. Doesn't it take a minute to go to the bathroom? Like, you need to plan for that. That's not on them. That's on you. And if your attitude is such shit that you think a place like Salda Golu is terrible because your dumbass went there in March expecting it to be warm, or you go to like a once-in-a-lifetime party, like literally once-in-a-lifetime party, and you're complaining because you had to wait in line at the bathroom, that's on you. And so much of like people not noticing the magic of life is their shitty attitude toward it in general. Like,
for real.
Shift your attitude.
No, because also, honestly, I was talking about like all the little moments that kind of disappear. And something that like I don't think people appreciate enough is that so often your favorite memories later are the memories where like everything went fucking wrong, or like things were all kinds of fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, could you get me to go back to Acapulco? Absolutely not. But like, you and I laugh so hard telling those stories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I threw up blood. We almost died. Like, literally, I should have gone to a hospital and didn't. But like, now it's just like, hey, remember that time?
Yeah. No, my friends and I, this was actually before we started workationing, but we went to this play together, and it was awful. Like, it was a terrible play, and it was in this tiny little theater where it was kind of like the stage was kind of in the middle of chairs that were almost totally encircling it. We were on the far side, so this place sucked, but we like could not get out because we would be like literally walking through the middle of this play. that was literally just, and it ended up being like, it was this long, arduous, emotional thing. There was this brother and sister in a cabin and it was a murder mystery. But then at some point it turned into this like weird incesty thing where like the brother was trying to sleep with the sister and everyone was just like really traumatized. We're like, no, like this is so bad. And in the moment we were all just like eyeing the exits. How the fuck do we get out of here? That was a mistake. But you know what? That is one of our favorite memories as a friend group. You know what I mean? And so like, even when shit sucks, it's about your attitude, and just understand that even when everything goes bad, a lot of times that's the stuff that you remember. Trauma bonding is real.
Yeah. So look at that silver lining. You know, trauma bonding is real, and it gives you a point in time to look back through and say, you know, we got through that battle together.
Well, at least you
and we made it to the other side.
You know, even if it's like so terrible, like that's an experience. That's something weird. That's a weird that you lived that day.
And so that's been like a huge part of workationing, because honestly, like when we were in Acapulco, if our attitudes were shit, that would have been we probably would have quit. We wouldn't have moved to any of the other cool locations, Vegas, Bering Dom, Prague, Edinburgh, living in Amsterdam. Like if we would have called it quits after that, we would have missed out on so many amazing opportunities and experiences, you know, and it's because we had a good attitude that like we didn't kill each other, you know, when shit got hard.
No, and I was so glad to have you to laugh with. You and I, just no matter what was going on, you and I laughed so much during that whole process. Like I don't think I've ever laughed so much, actually. Like just till there were like tears in my eyes laughed. You know what I mean? And I remember that it was like the first day we were in Colombia and we just like immediately got scammed like twice. And we were both like kind of traumatized and also kind of like, what are we doing? And like, what is this place? And then we both were just kind of like, what? So we got scammed in Colombia. What do you do on a Tuesday? And we both just thought that was like so funny for some reason.
I mean, it was really funny. We got scammed twice in one day, and like we got scammed before we even left the airport. You know, like, that takes skill, I feel like. You know, right. You really got to make yourself a mark to get scammed twice and once before you leave the airport.
No, and I think I was so glad to have you through that whole process, because I think that we both are the kind of people who, number one, will have a good attitude even when a situation is shitty, but also I think that we both really just delight in absurdity in a way that not a lot of people do. And when those moments would come up, we would just like really laugh, and that was always laughter really is the best medicine. It
is. And like, I really do delight in the absurd. There's nothing more than I love than like a weird story, or, well, that's a real character over there. Like Santiago. Who is that guy? Do you know what I mean? But he was our fixer, and not only in Medellin, but dude came out and saved our asses in Acapulco. And 2 years later, we're still talking to him on the phone through the weird ass shit he's up to.
Yeah, we still talk.
And friendship is so important. And, you know, relationships really do come and go. And sometimes those relationships are friendships that come and go. But when you find a soul partner, whether that be like life partner, or Kelly and I used to joke that we're life partners, and we are, honestly. Like, girl, try and shake me.
Yeah. No, and it doesn't even matter that we're like, you know, we're 7 time zones apart right now. Like, you're such an integral and important part of my life, and I know that you always will be.
I think that has been developing my friendship with you to the level that we have has been the biggest takeaway, benefit, reward, whatever you want to call it, of workationing, and honestly, my adult life so far. I have building TCF, and I have creating workationing, and I have developing my relationship with you, and I just love you so much. You're my best friend.
I love you so much too, and like, I mean, that's like everybody thinks we're gay. And I'm just like, if you people, like, God, if we were gay, we just would get married, though. Like, because it is like my friendship with you has been the most just like profound relationship of my adult life. You know, even like the romantic relationship that I'm in right now, like I wouldn't be able to be as good at it if I hadn't gone through everything that I've gone through with you because I cared enough about you to like look at myself and change some things. You know what I mean? And
right.
and I'm so grateful for like the support system that we have in each other and just like the power of our friendship. Like I really just feel like the two of us can do like literally anything together.
I think that we can, and like, haven't we already? You know what I mean? We've done some really cool, fucked up, crazy things, actually. Pulled it off. Stuck the landing in just about all cases.
We have, and I feel like we're both like right now at this place where we're still like very involved in each other's lives. We talk all the time. So it's so weird when people are like, are you guys still friends? I'm like, yes, I just talked to that hoe. Like,
yeah, I just haven't been recording a podcast.
Yeah.
Like I haven't been recording it.
We don't record as much anymore. You know, I think I'm so grateful for the strength of our friendship because I feel like we're in this place where we're both just we each have different ways that we need to grow and develop and things that we need to do. And we're able to like be there for each other and support each other through all of that, but also like give each other like the room to do it. And it's just like, it's a beautiful thing to me.
It is to me too. And like, I just love you so much. I really do. And I love that you're happy. That's all I really care about. We don't need to like live and die and rot in the same apartment. Like
no.
we can do our things separately and come together. And I can't believe it was 2 weeks ago that we were in Gainesville together. And like, that was so cool to be able to see your new life and how you operate within it. And it's like, well, this is a new chapter. This is weird, but I'm very into it and so supportive. I'm so happy for you. And I work with you still, so I get to see the work challenges and I get to pitch in and help out as I can and know how to. And it's so good, and we're not done yet. I think part of the reason why we put off recording this episode is just because, like, well, I didn't really want to talk about it. Honestly, like it makes me sad to look back and remember that, like, God, it's a memory now, you know, but I've still got more memories to create. I'm definitely not done, and we're not done, and you're not done either. It's just,
no, I know.
You know, you do something publicly and people start having questions, and it was just a weird thing, honestly.
No, and it's been hard to know how to tell the story. And I think also, like, both of us, like when I really sat down to prepare for this today, I cried before I even talked to you. Like I was like, oh God, you know, I didn't think I realized how much I was kind of avoiding it just because like it is sad. And as much as it's wonderful and exciting and all the things that, you know, we've talked about, it is sad. And I think that something that I really have started to love is like, so I dropped Kari off at the airport. Well, we both were flying out to Orlando airport after we got to hang out for a week in Gainesville. And as our plan was to like go to the airport lounge, and like we spent many a time together in the airport lounge and like have one last hurrah and like have a couple drinks and, you know, just like put in a good end to this week. And then it turned out that like Kari had a problem with her ticket and couldn't get through. And so we ended up just having this like right at security, this kind of like very rushed goodbye that like wasn't really a goodbye. And I didn't know if maybe she was going to catch up or like whatever. And so we ended up not seeing each other after that. And it was kind of like the goodbye in Amsterdam that never was. And in some ways I really love that because like, I just feel like it's just never going to be goodbye, you know?
No, it'll be until next time. And bitch, you better come back on this podcast. And I know you're going to.
I absolutely will. Like, I'm not going anywhere, but I also want you to have like feel entirely empowered to take it in whatever direction feels right. And I totally trust you with our baby. And and I do think it's time to open it up to other stories and other voices because like I said, I'm really proud of the fact that we created something bigger than ourselves. And I'm really too busy right now to totally invest in it in the way that I'd like to, but I want to see it keep going. And I know that there could not be a better person to keep it moving forward than you.
Thank you. And I can't wait. You're going to love it. It's going to be great, you know?
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens and to listen and all of that. It's going to be really cool.
It's going to be weird. I'll give you a little preview. Do you know Donnie and Marie Osmond?
I do.
Well, the show is about to get full-blown Mormon because Ashley Osmond of the Osmond family is going to step in and become the primary co-host.
I didn't realize you talked about her, and I didn't realize she was like an Osmond.
Yes, girl, she's an Osmond.
What?
I told you we're going to get weird. Yeah.
I literally didn't know this. That is very weird.
And Osmond, his ex headed to Amsterdam, and we travel a lot, and she is just like the baddest of badass bitches. And like next week, I'll be going with a squad of 10 people to a mystery destination. Remember how when we were working out with Jos, our personal trainer in Amsterdam, he told us about how he and his friends do this thing where twice a year, two of them get together and they plan an entire trip, and nobody knows where they're going until they get to the airport. And then they get their ticket.
That's so awesome. I'm so glad you're doing that.
No, I'm doing that for our friend Rob's birthday.
Are you
Rob's turning 53. Yes, girl, I already did it. We're leaving next week. There are 10 people showing up to the airport. They don't know where they're going.
Okay, well, you have to text me later and tell me where you're going because I haven't heard the story yet.
Oh, no, it's so good. And yeah, because Rob and I do this thing where we throw each other birthday parties. And so for my birthday party, he brought in strippers. There was karaoke. There were amusement park rides. He really brought the fire. And so, like, I tell you where, I think this podcast episode is going to launch before we leave on Friday. So I don't want to, like, nobody knows where we're going. Not even his girlfriend knows where we're going. I just had everyone send me their passport, and Nico booked all the tickets, and the Airbnb has been selected, and it's going to be a crazy time. And it's called Rob's Magical Mystery Birthday Tour, because we're going to hit 3 countries.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. And I love Rob. Like, Rob is really one of my favorite people. So that's awesome.
Yeah. So we'll be talking about that, and that'll be a fun thing. So we've got cool stuff in the works, and I would really love to have Cindy Gallup on the podcast. Well, and I think I might be able to swing it. Or I'm going to try and manifest that shit. And then I'm going to work really hard not to call her Aunt Cindy on the, on the podcast.
You'll out yourself.
I think that would be weird. Okay, so did we do it?
I think we did it. I'm glad we finally did it. And I don't know. I love you, girl. And I know that this is just like a new chapter, and we'll see what comes next. It'll definitely be weird. That I know.
Yeah, it's not going to be normal. I'll tell you that.
This has been another episode of the Workationing podcast. To keep up with us in real time, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Workationing. Or on our website at, you guessed it, workationing.com. That's workationing.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode.
It works so much better when you hit record.
Yeah.
This episode of the Workationing podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp.com. We love our internet therapists so much that we have an affiliate relationship with them that gets you a week of free internet therapy. All you have to do to get it is go to BetterHelp.com/workationing. That's BetterHelp.com/workationing.